Hey, special educators, I'm Jennifer from Positively Learning. Welcome to the Special Educators Resource Room. If you're like me, you're always looking for ways to save time and streamline your work. That's why this podcast was created, to give you the systems and solutions you need to get your time back. Tune in for tips, tricks, and tools that will help you manage your workload and make the most of your time. Whether you're brand new or experienced, all are welcome in the Special Educators Resource Room. The holidays are here. Let's all stand up and cheer. Maybe. Hey, special educators, Jennifer from Positively Learning. What do the holidays look like in your classroom? For me, it was a bit of a mixed bag. And I'm not just speaking of winter holidays, but any holiday or any event that's celebrated. It always seemed to start off okay. I was super inspired. I could see the holiday approaching on the calendar and I got excited. Maybe it was the change in season, the music, the colors, all the festivities. And then as the holiday approached, maybe it got a little bit busier, more hectic, maybe a sense of pressure to get everything in. And then by the time the holiday arrived, it was mayhem, kind of a hot mess express, lots of tears, maybe mine, maybe my students, just not the festive, joyous event that I had pictured just a few weeks before. And then, of course, Instagram is all these glorious pictures of students and teachers smiling and having fun and using objects that I have just now banned from the resource room, like scissors and glue. Needless to say, I pretty much felt like a party pooper as I was trying to prevent everyone from experiencing sensory overload. What is a special educator supposed to do? Do we have to put blinders on every season and act like it's not happening? I've tried that, and there was even one year I completely forgot about Mother's Day. Ugh. Luckily, you do not need to skip over seasons and holidays in your classroom, and there are some easy fixes to celebrate without everyone losing it. I don't even know if my students noticed anything different. Maybe there was less tears. If this all sounds good to you, let's get started. The first thing I suggest doing is taking a quick inventory of what is working very well currently in your classroom. This varied slightly from year to year, but for the majority of the time, what really worked for us was using read alouds. We did 2 a day. My students loved them, and I did too. We also usually pulled small groups, and my students, for the most part, really enjoyed that time. They were getting attention in an appropriate way, there were hands-on activities, and they were with their peers. We also had a strong independent work system. My students absolutely loved it, especially the task boxes, but there were some other activities that they really liked working on independently as well. Some years, my students had their own binders that stayed in the resource room. Other years, we had our own writing journals and brain breaks. Brain breaks were pretty much routine every year that I taught, and my students really loved those. Now, some other activities that we sprinkled in depending on students' needs and interests. And there was one year that my entire resource room felt like a huge sensory bin. Every activity we did had some sensory component. There was another year that everything was movement. Movement games were life for us. Every activity I was seeing through a filter of how can I make this a movement game? And there were some years that we incorporated music in everything we did, and there were some years we could not handle it. So think about what is working really well in your classroom right now. You've heard my list. Now I want to share what worked for us. So the read alouds were super easy. We were always adding in seasonal and holiday read alouds. I did often check with gen ed teachers because my students were in the classroom and having pull-out services. I did check with them to make sure we weren't all reading the exact same book. There's so many wonderful ones out there. I created some visual book companion response pages where my students could interact and answer comprehension questions with some visual supports. I have these for every month of the school year, and they match the seasonal and holiday themes. I also have some holiday handwriting pages. My students were already used to doing handwriting pages using mentor sentences from their favorite books. So it was fairly easy to keep the routine going, but just switching out the seasonal and holiday themes to match the books that we were reading out loud. In our small groups, we always did quick interactive games first grade style. One of our favorite card games was Blast. I think it has many different names. It's pretty similar to Kaboom, where students are answering a question or reading a word, and then if they get the Blast card, they lose a turn or give up their cards or whatever your students can handle. I have several sets of these Blast cards that can be used any time of year. They have evergreen themes. But I also made sets of seasonal and holiday themes, and my students thought they were amazing. They were so excited to see Halloween black cat or a winter snowflake. Although the game didn't really change, they were still reading words and answering questions, but they thought they were playing this amazing holiday game. Everybody was happy. Now, you may be noticing a theme with these activities. They are the activities we are already used to. We already have our routines set up around. Students can access these activities. They can feel independent. They feel in control because they know what to expect. Yet, we're still having holiday fun because I'm keeping the same activity, putting a holiday spin on it. You could always take it up a notch if students can handle it. Maybe all of the task boxes are now in red and green boxes, or you've switched all the markers to Halloween colors. Maybe you have some holiday music playing or some decor around the room. It's up to you. It's not always possible to keep routines, especially if your school is having special assemblies or the gen ed classrooms are doing some different activities, but we can keep the routine as close as possible inside our own classroom. There is something I want to mention. I think it's important to acknowledge. You, as the educator, may be feeling a sense of nostalgia. Maybe you have some wonderful memories growing up of all the fun activities you did in your own classroom. And you're having some feelings because you really don't think you're going to be able to do that this year in your classroom, or you are going to try doing it and it just does not go as planned. It's okay to feel your feelings. I have totally been there. You can decide what's best for you and your students. There are some alternatives that mix up the routine a little bit so you can have some holiday festive fun, minus the meltdown. I just released a new bundle. It's a growing bundle, so there's December and January, and there'll be a packet for every month of the year. They are one-page, air quotes, I know you can't see me, crafts that students can be successful with almost completely independently. Think of dot to dot, direct to draw, tracing pictures, and different activities like that. And the packet has enough for the whole month. So I will put the link in the show notes so you can check them out, and that way you have something to display for all students and they have something in their hands as they go home for the holidays. I will also put a link to a blog post with all of the tips from this podcast episode about keeping routines in your classroom during the holidays. Be sure to check it out and let me know which tip works for you. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm dying to ask, what'd you think? Be sure to hit the follow or subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. You can find the show notes and links for everything mentioned in this episode at positivelylearningblog.com. See you next week for more special education solutions.